allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Back on.
Microphone's on.
Call the meeting to order. Thank you for coming out tonight. Normally, as you see, I try to introduce everybody at the table tonight. So it's a little bit different from my normal setting. But we have Christine Keller, our town clerk, Michelle Floeling, our town manager. We have John Perchotti, town councilor, Wayne Bickford, town councilor, Peter Lawrence, town councilor and secretary, Stephanie Thibodeau, town councilor and vice chair, and myself, Matthew Townsend, chairman. So actually, I'd like to ask Christine to read a couple. Sure, can do. So have Christine read a few of the guidelines for tonight, and then we'll start up with the meeting.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome. So for the public hearing, like any public hearing, the folks in council meeting, folks should remain silent in the audience, no whispering or side conversations. This is a live broadcast and recorded permanent record retention, so we do need to be able to hear everything that's being said. So for the public hearing, if you do wish to speak this evening, we're going to have you go over to that podium. You do have to print and sign your name, and then when the chair calls on you to speak, you will speak directly to the chair, and again, not to one another. If there are questions for the department heads who are here, the municipal staff will come to this microphone at the direction of the chair to speak. And if you haven't turned off your cell phones, please do so. And we really appreciate the great turnout. This is a record. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome.
So the first order of business are the public announcements. So details may be found at www.fairfieldme.com. Number 1, Fairfield is hiring in all departments. Contact the town office. Number 2, running for office. Nomination papers for MSAD number 49 school board are due by April 12th, 2024 for the June 11th, 2024 election. There are 2 seats available for a 3-year term. Please contact the town clerk for details. Number 3, non-emergency services will be closed on Monday, April 15th in observance of the Patriots' Day holiday. 4, the fourth quarter property taxes are due May 8th, 2024. Number 5, annual town budget meeting will be held at the community center on Monday, May 13th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Number 6, the MSCD number 49 annual school budget meeting will be held at the Lawrence Junior High on Tuesday, May 15th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Bruce, this is for you. Number 7, annual spring cleanup is scheduled from Monday, May 13th to Friday, May 17th. There are changes to the program. Brochures are available at the town office. Number 8, the Lawrence Public Library, comprehensive program details online and via the LPL social media. Story time and crafts, Wednesday, 10:30 a.m. Coffee and cribbage drop-in, Thursday, 1 to 4. Lego Club drop-in, Friday, 1 to 4, and Saturday, 10 to 1. So, and now on to the second order of business, which are the public hearings. So we'll call the hearing first, number 1, open, to hear public comments on a special amusement permit renewal application for the purposes of entertainment, music, and dancing submitted by the American Legion Post 14, located at 86 Main Street. Anyone wish to speak?
There are no impediments.
Very good. Thank you, Christine. Hearing closed on that one. Number 2, to hear the public comments on the annual town budget warrant. Open.
My name's Al Dyer. I live on West Street. I'd like to ask the council to reconsider the amounts that you have in the warrant for the PAL program. With what's happened in Augusta this past week, where they are going to start taxing pensions, the senior citizens in town it's hard enough for them to make ends meet. These people are going to have to really start making decisions on food, heating, medicine, and just to survive. The, the PAL program has $200,000 in their bank account. There's no reason why, $4,000 or $5,000 less from the city of Fairfield, town of Fairfield, should really affect any of their programs. On top of that, when you break down the number of children that are attending and participating in the PAL program, Fairfield is paying more than their fair share, and it's just not right. I want to say they've taken advantage of us for a lot of years, and they just kind of expected this money, and there hasn't been much pushback. Well, I think this year and going forward, we should really pay attention to if we have 43% of the children participating, then we should only pay 43% of what their annual budget is. So I really think we should readdress that and narrow that down. I don't have the numbers off of my head.
So the town council recommended $40,000 and the budget committee recommended $25,000.
So and I think if you break down the children to their budget request, it comes out to like 32 something.
So, Mr. Dyer, would you like to see us fund $32,000 of the PAL budget? Is that
I think that's more fair to this town of Fairfield.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any more comments? Mr. Dyer?
Mr. Dyer,
Mr.
did
Dyer.
you have any other
Good, I just want to
comments?
make sure yeah. Good, you're all set? Good, yeah, I just want to make sure,
Sign in.
make sure you're all set.
You signed in? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, actually, I'll ask a point of question for Michelle. So what does that look like if we want to change something on the warrant?
So the way it works, anyway, I'm trying to bring up, because I think I can bring it up so that everybody will know. There we go. So if you're not aware, the PAL budget is listed under agencies and organizations, and it's this line right here. And if you don't have them, there are spreadsheets available that details the full department budget that's over here on this table. That it gives you the line-by-line detail of every department budget that's in here for a question. And then back to your question, Mr. Chairman, the town council has the right to set any number that they want to within the warrant. We just simply need to list what the council and the budget committee's recommendations are for those items. Nothing is locked in stone until you sign the warrant later on this evening. The way it works at town meeting, though, is that the number that goes to town meeting is the highest possible number, meaning that, say, a majority of the community showed up and they actually wanted the 40,000 over the other amount that the budget committee recommended. Move that over. It would not be possible. You're not allowed to increase at town meeting at all. You can only decrease.
Thank you. Any more comments in the public hearing?
Would you like me to give a general overview of what's going on with this budget?
That'd be great.
So, as part of the budget packet that you would receive for the spreadsheets, it does give you the total. There's an overall total piece which shows, in this year's packet, it was so large that it only actually shows your current year budget and the amount spent, but there are the last two prior years. Those amounts will be in the town report when this does get printed, and what our budgets look like. So the process works that the department's staff and myself put a budget together and provide those recommendations to the town council. The town council reviews those budgets, makes their decision. That information goes to the budget committee. The budget committee then does their own independent review. The town council is available at that meeting so that they can have an open discussion. We have found that it does make that meeting work rather efficiently. And then both of those recommendations come back together. In years past, the town council has written the warrant articles such that if there's a difference between the budget committee and the town council, like there are in these highlighted items here, what they would do is the highest number would go in the warrant, and therefore the decision could be then debated and then decided at town meeting and leave it up to the townspeople to decide. For the most part this year, the town council and the budget committee did actually agree on most all of our individual department budgets. Some of them were minor pieces where there was a difference. In the administrative budget, there was a difference in office supplies and postage. The difference was not extreme, and the budget committee did go along with the department's recommendation. The biggest changes this year were in the capital reserve budget, was where the largest differences were in financing amounts. At the time, the budget committee, and during our conversation, believed that there was a sufficient amount of funds within our reserve accounts, which those current balances are listed here at the bottom of that page. The way capital reserve accounts work is they're funds that are appropriated for a specific purpose and they don't lapse at the end of the year, meaning if we have a certain amount of money in our insurance budget and we don't spend all of that because our insurance rates were less, the money left over in that budget just goes to the town's general fund. But with capital reserve accounts, if you appropriate money for equipment for public works or the police department, or for, in this instance, playground reevaluation or the reval, those funds do not lapse if we don't spend them in any given year. They just continue to build upon themselves so that we have those funds available for when we need them. So at the time when the budget committee was going over this, they did feel that there was sufficient amount of funds in the capital reserve accounts. I can tell you in the last 8 years I've been here, we don't follow any formal capital reserve plan simply because of the fact that we can't afford to. We try to get to a point where we are close, but we do not have a sufficient amount of funds that we need, that we appropriate every year. For instance, in this coming year, Public Works currently has $554,797. That's as of today. And they need to, within the next 2 years, spend over $723,000 on equipment that is required to be replaced, which gives them a shortfall of $168 plus or minus $1,000. So what we do is we appropriate a certain amount of funds every year. We have over the years increased each of those department amounts by $5,000. So that we have those funds available to us and we work within them. So it may be that we have to wait an extra year before we buy a new plow truck or those sorts of things. The equipment reserve budget in this, the capital improvement building budget, that is the capital improvement account for all of our town buildings. It is not a substantial amount of money if you think about having to reconstruct any particular department, which if you've been following along with our various council meetings, there have been conversations and recommendations from the building committee that we look into not only our police department, but also our fire department and what it would look like for those pieces. So $388,000 in reserve is in no way, shape, or form going to get us to a new construction. But the conversation amongst the budget committee at that time was that more than likely that would be a bond, so therefore it didn't need to be done. So the reserve accounts were the big piece in which folks on the budget committee thought that they could save some funds. It would save you money this year, but if you had to put it back next year, you have to know that that's a guaranteed automatic increase, so that in order to get us back on track. So that is, in my opinion, not a long-term fix. And then the other piece is the revenue side. When the department budget was put together, I had only put in here we go, $555,000 for undesignated fund money to offset the tax commitment. The budget committee and the town council have increased those requests so that they match each other. and putting it up to using over $950,000 from undesignated fund, that coupled with the paving. $1 million from undesignated fund is a bit of a risky number simply because of the fact that it won't be there next year should you need it. So just keep that in mind as well. But that's pretty much the big pieces that are the difference in this year's budget. Other than that, there isn't anything extreme. There's no extreme changes. There's no large projects that aren't usual. Paving plan is typical. And that's about it.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wish to speak? All right. Thank you very much. Oh. Going once, going twice.
Fairfield. One question that about the budget, Michelle, you said there was not a whole lot of change. If you look at the Delta ambulance, 66%. I've talked to Chief Leary about this, and the big thing about it, we are not a transport department. We cannot transport. Requires a whole different setup or whatever. The request, last year's budget was 97. This year's request is 161,000. It's hard. I can understand that. Delta is a dying breed to speak of. All our communities around us, Waterville, Winslow, Clinton, they transport. So Delta is losing revenue because of that. We are paying Delta the difference. And the only reason we're paying it because we cannot get the manpower. We don't have the equipment. And every year, it's going to go up higher and higher. I would like to see the town get together and really look at this and try to come down with a plan where we can get our own ambulance for transport. It does not have to be new. You can go out and get a used one for half the price of a new one. Manpower would be a difference. You have to have qualified personnel, paramedics, for that. It may take another 4 full-time employees, I'm guessing, to man this. It will be an expense to the town. But at the rate it's going, the money we're giving out now, if we're going to take that increase and start putting it towards a transport unit, getting the extra people we need, getting the ambulance that we need, in the long run, the town would benefit. And like I say, Delta is a dying breed. All they're going to be like KV Cap. All they're going to do is transport people this here and there. People with insurance, with Medicare and stuff like that, their insurance pays for that transport. But we're double paying it. We're covering their expense again. And I think the town is losing out, if not looking at the future, where we should be heading. Don't sit on the back stool and just, wait year after year and wait for Delta to totally die out, where then we're forced to be in a situation we got to spend X amount of dollars, and all at once. And like I say, we're an aging town, and people cannot afford these increases in taxes. That's all I have.
Thank you. I think, so I'll let Michelle speak to that in a moment. I think we on the council all agree that the current situation is not sustainable. And there have been significant negotiations and a lot of discussions behind the scenes that you can only really do behind the scenes. But I think we all agree that significant raises each year are not sustainable, and there are ways to really help the citizens of this town long term. But I'll let Michelle speak that, but we agree.
And I want to thank you for pointing that out because that is one of the pieces in our budget that is a drastic difference this year that I forgot to mention. So thank you very much for keeping me on my toes with that. And if folks would take a look at that, so one of the biggest reasons in this year's budget and the change is that if you see expenses themselves are only up about 300, this is in general, and I'm going to circle back to Delta, but expenses themselves are only $314,000 up. But you notice we lost $186,000 in revenue. And so those two things coupled together is what gives us a much larger impact within our budget for the increase. But with Delta Ambulance, that is a piece where they went from $25 per capita to the $35 per capita. No, 15.
40.
15 to 25, thank you. And it is a conversation that we've been having, and how does that work? Last year, we funded the $97,000 with ARPA funds, and we did not have those ARPA funds to fund that with this year. Council has done a really good job at trying to make sure that ARPA funds were used for more one-time things as opposed to long-term budget issues, because when those funds are gone, then you have to pick those up, and that's a scenario which we have with this. What they did do last year is they did order a study to be done on the fire department. It was funded 75% by the town of Fairfield and 25% by the town of Benton. Municipal Resources, Inc. did a complete and total audit of our department, including the investigation of whether or not ambulance transport would be worthwhile for our community. That report is posted on our website. And tomorrow evening, the town council is having a workshop with the Benton Selectmen right here in council chambers. It's not an open for the public participation event, but it is an open to the public event. And we encourage you either to stop by and listen to that conversation or to watch it on our various different channels through Crossroads TV. But that is exactly the kind of things that they are going to be discussing, is how do we address this going forward?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Please print and sign your name. Thank you.
And that meeting is at 6, not at 6:30 like our normal meetings. So you'd have to tune in about a half hour earlier.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Tom DeShane. I live on Wood Street. I'm hearing $15 or $20 a year capita for ambulance. Having lived in Presque Isle for 35 years, we never paid $15 capita. It was $30, $35, and $40. Hammock, the Aroostook Medical Center, actually had the ambulance service, proper equipment, proper training for their folk. And everyone was thinking the same way you folks are today. This is too expensive. We're going to do it on our own. Fort Fairfield tried. Presque Isle tried. They came to the realization that their cost was not what they anticipated. And they struggled. And the people in the community got frustrated. So before we jump into doing this on our own, I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel, but I think what we need to do is reach out to these communities who tried to do this on their own. And they find out not only what it cost for an ambulance. You want to buy used one, good. You want to hire these people from Delta who don't have a job anymore, well, they're paid a certain amount of money with certain benefits. You're going to have to compete with that. But then you have to deal with the billing. Do you have the billing service and the knowledge in that group of people to know how to code each ambulance run so that you get paid what you should pay? And people have struggled up in Aroostook County. Fort Kent got nailed because they were not billing appropriately. And the feds wanted their money back and the state wanted their money back. There's a lot more than just the ambulance and getting your people. You need a billing staff that's experienced, knowledgeable, experienced, and you don't bill appropriately because the feds can come back for 5, 7 years. And if the state's budget falls short, they're going to come after whomever they want. So the taxpayer in Fairfield, Benton, is liable. I only ask that you do a very strong due diligence project. Ask the people who've tried this before, because you could be sticking your head into a big hole. And none of us want that, actually. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that's exactly what we've been talking about. So I appreciate hearing that and hearing about other experiences. It's definitely a involved process, and so you don't want to make a quick decision.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, folks. My name's Dick Fortier from Bunker Avenue. Pick up a little bit from where he left off. We look at Winslow, they started their own ambulance. They were in the red over $200,000 last year. That's $40,000 more than we're going to pay this year. Waterville lost so much, they won't even tell you how much they lost. Somebody mentioned the insurance factor. Insurance pays between 48 and 52% of an ambulance call. Who's going to pick up the other 40, 50%? If we're splitting the calls with Benton, is Benton going to reimburse us for their calls that the insurance doesn't cover? I would like to see a good business plan for this. If you did due diligence with this firm, they should have provided you with a business plan, and you would know what your income is going to be on a year and how long it's going to take before you show a profit, if you do ever show a profit. Without at least doing the business plan, you're going into this blind. A lot of people think it's a free business. It is not free. It's an expensive business. Winslow has 2 paramedics. One had a heart attack. The other one got sick, or injured, I'm sorry. They went weeks without a paramedic. What's the liability to this town if one of these people have a heart attack and they don't make it because there's no paramedic on board? This isn't something you can take very easily. And I know it's easy to say, oh, we can do this, we can do this, and we can do this. If you look at this year's budget, the 7 full-time firefighters, $800,000. That's $120,000 or so per man or woman. You're going to have 4 or 5. This is a 24-hour service, 7 days a week. You're going to need at least 2 rigs and 4 or 5 people. There's another $800,000 that isn't in this budget. It's not going to be a cheap proposition, even though a lot of people think it's going to be. Thank you.
Thank you. I think your concerns do not fall upon deaf ears. So I think we will continue to work hard, make the best decision we can. But won't be a quick one. Scanning the audience. Any more conversations or discussion? All right. We'll close the hearing. Thank you very much. So now the third order of business, public comments. Limited to 3 minutes. Members of the public may speak to the council or request opportunity to speak on a specific item that is on the agenda, or may email comments for council to info@fairfield-me.gov by 4 p.m. day of meeting. Submitted content may be read aloud at this time.
I don't have any.
Anyone wish to speak on another subject? Seeing none, thank you very much. The fourth order of business, reports from the staff and committees. So start with the town manager report.
All right. So on March 28th, the union negotiations with the fire department had started and were completed all in the same day, except for some minor wording clarification. So this will come to the council as a future action item. March 29th, I did attend training up in Augusta, the annual Main Town and City Managers Interchange. Topics included new laws regarding the handling of tax foreclosures, benefits of hiring a communications officer, and best practices for submitting for congressional direct spending requests. April 2nd, we had the Economic Community Development Committee meeting and was also the kickoff meeting for the 31 Lawrence Ave Committee. I'll leave that to both of our counselors to discuss. On April 4th, I did, all non-emergency services were closed due to the storm here, but also that evening I attended a Kennebec Regional Development Authority Executive Board meeting via Zoom. We did approve a purchase and sales agreement for an additional lot in First Park. So that's another lot sold, which means another lot taxed, which means more revenue. So that's good. And then, as you had mentioned at the top of the meeting under the announcement, nomination papers for the school board, just so folks are aware, no one has taken out nomination papers for the school board, which means we have 2 positions that will be left as write-ins unless somebody takes out papers, gets 25 signatures, and gets those turned in by Friday. Christine has papers here if you would like to ask her any questions once tonight's meeting is over, and we can catch you while you're here. But no one has taken those out yet. And then also, just again, reminder to the council that you do have that workshop tomorrow night with Benton Selectmen right here in council chambers at 6 p.m. And that's it for me.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle? Very good. Actually, Stephanie, do you want to go next?
Sure.
Development?
Yes. We met on March 12th, on April 2nd, and we started to discuss our long-range goals for this year. And one of them is to plan for our train trestle art. It's come up over the years off and on, and so we're beginning steps to look into that more deeply. Michelle's going to be making contact with the railroad to see what the odds are that we'll be able to do something to beautify the train trestles in town. We've also talked about improving our signage. Fairfield has really no branding, and this is a good way to start a brand for Fairfield. And that's basically to have our signs all basically look the same, and so people can anticipate where to go. So we're beginning to look at different towns that do have signage and see where this will take us. We're also looking, this is really the longest long-range plan. We're looking at a downtown TIF revitalization plan. The last downtown plan was done in 2002. And it's now time to take a look at where we want to go with this. So we're working with the Central Maine Growth Council on this. And we had homework, which is to walk the main street and take a look at the downtown to come back and for a very full discussion when we meet again in May. We're also looking at the marketing and facade plan that we have. Language in the plan does need to be tweaked. It's something that we've been doing for a number of years. And in order to better promote our marketing, we also have to take a look at the businesses in town. And that is going to start with updating our business database. It hasn't been done in a long time. I'm looking for 2 more volunteers to help with this. I do have a list from the database, and it has all the businesses. This has not been updated in years. And I've already had some of the economic committee members take a sheet, but I'll do a sheet, but I just need 2 more volunteers. So if people out here or out in Zoom land want to help, call my phone number. It's on the town website. Leave a message and I will get back in touch with you. But it does need to be done, and it's a good place to start. So that's it.
Thank you, Steph.
You're welcome.
That's good things. Peter, I'm not sure if there's anything on the building.
Nothing on the building committee. We just wait for the test on the fire station, and it comes back to the council, and the council determines what the next step is.
Very good.
So the building committee or the assessment committee, we're on hiatus right now until the council needs us.
Great. You've done good work, so I appreciate it. Actually, for me, there's one, is the PFAS group. We're actually meeting on April 16th at 6 o'clock. We're meeting with the Department of Agriculture. So hopefully we'll move forward on that end. There have been some interesting numbers that just came out. So that'll probably affect some of our discussion. That'll be good. We also met on the next group committee I'd like to report on would be the 31 Lawrence Avenue, so the Good House. We met on April 2nd, and I think that was our initial meeting, kind of discussing potential for it and kind of see where we all stood. I think the overwhelming concept was that we need to make sure that we take care of the library and that this is meant for the library, and that is the focus for us. And we can think about saving some money for the town or doing whatever, but we need to look at what helps us 100 years from now, long after all of us are not here, and what is, make sure we lay the groundwork for something that continues on for this town. So this is actually a fairly pivotal moment to use that space wisely and to try to do the best thing for the town. So I think everybody on the committee, I think, had different opinions, but we all had one overarching concept, which is what we need to do and do the right thing for the library. So I think it was a good first meeting, and I think our next one is on April 25th.
Yes.
Carol Ann, you were on the committee. Anything you'd like to add to that? Okay, thank you so much for being there. Sure. Quick question of... So,
You need to go to the mic, sir. Not for Zoom land.
We're talking about branding Fairfield. Nice community. A couple years ago, Fairfield VFW wanted to honor our Second World War vets, our Korean vets, and our Vietnam vets. And I'm sure that all of you have seen, as you travel around Fairfield, Benton, you've seen the pictures on the telephone pole. The VFW is funding this by themselves with no donations. But if you find $500 or $1,000 that you can donate to the program, I think we would appreciate that. Final comment, ambulance. I see the fire department building and the police station. Where are we going to put those ambulances? Because they have to be ready 24/7, 365, charged.
Yep.
It's warm,
very, yep,
ready to go.
very good. So that will be discussed with the building committee and as we move forward. But thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.
All right, so as we are kind of still not in the comment section now, but I appreciate that. And we'll make sure we take care of things as we move forward, and we'll keep you updated. So the fifth order of business now is the consent agenda. So these items are considered routine and standard business, and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests prior to consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. Item 24-51, order the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes for meeting number 2024-06 held on March 27th, 2024. Item 24-52, order the Town Council hereby approves the Treasurer's warrant number 111, general fund in the amount of $658,938.87, not limited to but including MSCD 49, Charlie's Toyota Motor Vehicles, and KSTD.
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you very much. The sixth order of business, to take action on the following items of business as read by the council chair. Item 24-53, order the town council hereby approves special amusement permit renewal application for the purposes of music and dancing submitted by the American Legion Post number 14, located at 86 Main Street.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Item 24-54, order the town council hereby approves and signs the 2024 annual town budget meeting warrant.
So moved.
Motion second.
Second.
All right, so any discussion?
I just have one thing I
Yes.
wanted to point out. The town clerk just actually brought it to my attention. The mailer that folks received on, she just took it back. The Article 4 Delta, Article 28, does say that funding would come from the American Rescue Plan Act. That actually is not true.
That'd be like-
And the warrant that the town council is signing does not actually have that in there. It does say that they would be raised and appropriated for those funds. That was a held over from last year's article, and that is a misprint. So I apologize for that.
Other discussion? I will just come out and I'll be the one person. So my one thing that I think on the budget, I think a lot of it should be moved to the town. And obviously, folks can decide at the time if we want to decrease numbers. But I do look at the building reserve fund, even when we discussed about it. We have 300 and something $1,000 in that right now, 388,000. And if we are doing any large expansion in the future, it will be a bond issue. So to think about removing the 90, I think we were putting $90,000 into that. I think as a council, we had approved that. Would be the one that I would especially look at that what I would back out. The equipment reserve fund, I think, needs to be maintained at the level that we were trying because it's actually probably lower than it needs to be. And there are other discussions, yep.
Article 15.
Article 15, yeah. So that'd be the one that I would have my issue with. And if we, as a council, if we decide to stay the same, we can vote on it now if you want to stay the same. But that'd be my biggest one. I think there are some other points that, like Mr. Dyer spoke about, that we should be discussed probably at the town level. Because I think there are some things that, just looking at the fairness of the situation, and we're looking at a budget that is tighter this year. So I think it's important to look at those items. I'm not sure where the council stands right now, and what else you have any thoughts about, but I think this is our last chance before we send this warrant out.
The only thing that I could think of is on Article 16. And there's a discrepancy between what the town council recommends for community events and what the budget committee recommended. And I think, we could get by with just what the budget committee recommends. And just go where for this year, but then again, it's going to probably have to go up again as we get closer to the sesquicentennial. So. But in Article 16, the funds covered $3,000 for Fairfield festivals, $3,000 for concerts in the park, and $2,000 for other miscellaneous events for a total of $8,000. And if my memory serves me correctly, the budget committee thought that that $3,000 should continue to go for concerts in the park, with $1,000 going towards, I think it was the other festival,
Miscellaneous.
Planning and development.
right? So maybe we just want to, in light of what Mr. Dyer had said earlier, just go with the $4,000 that the budget committee recommends. He was talking about PAL, but every little bit helps. And the PAL, I can't remember what they requested,
They requested
40,000.
40,000.
40,000?
Yep.
But that's what we had done last year, was an increase
Correct.
of about 2,000.
There's
They
actually,
had asked $38,000 last year,
yeah,
and we upped it to an even number. But, so, And the Budget Committee on PAL, which is in Article
18.
18. The Budget Committee wanted 25,000. I think the 32,000 that Mr. Dyer had said is a very good compromise. I haven't done
So-
the ratio per student, per child.
At the time I'd done the math, and it was actually came out around 35.
35.
If you went by percentage
You did.
from town to town.
So, did you hear that, Mr. Dyer? It was,
I found the information that I had found earlier. Fairfield, we had 41.4% of the children participating in 2023, and they're asking for 49.08% of their budget from us. Clinton, for example, they had 23%, 23.44% of the children, and they're only paying 15.3% of their budget. That's the fairness thing.
so, and again, we could, leave it at the 40,000 and then it could be hammered out during town meeting. Or we could just,
And I think no one would debate the value of FAL.
no. not
But I
at
do
all.
actually have to look at a budget. And so we have to also be cognizant of that. And probably some out there would say that we're nickel and diming. And maybe that's the case. But I think we also have to be responsible.
So, and we're asking $5,000 to $8,000 less, correct? Right.
So I don't think 32,000 is a good amount to ask.
Or even the 35, so it's done per child.
Per child percentage by town. I think that's reasonable. And you can argue with that, but I think it is a reasonable step
Yeah.
to match fairly each town as a percentage of the use.
So I guess the question is, do we want to stick with the $40,000 that we recommend or change it to like the 35,000, which is more of the percentage? That's,
I think the change is 35.
I could go with the 35.
Both other councils.
I think it should be changed at town meeting. Let the people decide.
Yeah, we can.
So I think you have several items. So before we sign this warrant, are there any other issues on the warrant that you wish to discuss? So hearing none, I think we would want to talk about Articles basically 15, 16, and 18. So I would have, I guess, move forward that actually reduce our town council recommendation by removing the capital improvement budget, which was building reserve fund. So that was, I think, $90,000. To reduce our town council recommendation down to $235,000.
Are you referring to Article 15?
I am.
And reduce it to what?
That would, if it's not, I think it's $90,000 to cover the capital improvements for buildings. $90,000 would reduce the town council recommendation to $235,000.
So remove that 90,000.
Correct.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
And is there any other additional changes with that? Any other articles you're making a motion?
Not in this one.
Not on this one.
They're taking it article by article.
So on Article 15,
The $90,000 for capital improvements, all municipal buildings, removing that $90,000 as we have a budget, as we have a balance of $388,684.43.
so you're looking at line 1 on capital and community events page, and
Yep.
we're putting in the council wants 90,000.
Originally, we wanted 90,000. I'm proposing that we do zero this year.
Which is what
Because-
the budget committee wants.
Correct. Because we have a balance of $388,000, and if we do any major improvements for our buildings, we're going to be going to bond.
Michelle, did the insurance company come through on all the damage from the winds?
Yeah, yeah.
So we don't have to
Most
pay-
everything that we have. Buildings that typically don't get covered, one is our police department. We have a $25,000 deductible on the police department, so any damage that we had didn't get covered for that, but.
It's just my opinion. That's
We'll have
all it
enough,
is.
So you've got a motion.
Not a motion.
I don't question that. We have enough, if we change it for equipment, just in case a loader or a truck or something else goes down.
So this,
That would be.
that'd be the
equipment
equipment
reserve.
reserve.
All right.
I'm
Just wanna
proposing
make
not to
sure.
touch, I'm proposing
Right.
not to touch the equipment
I'll,
reserve.
I'll second Matt's motion. And then,
Any other discussion on that one? If we take this article by article, these three articles there were discussions on.
I have a question.
Yes.
Could you repeat the motion?
Yes.
Can't hear good.
The motion to remove the capital improvement building reserve fund allocation this year of $90,000. So to remove that from Article 15, removing changing the Article 15 overall town council recommendation to $235,000. Any thoughts, discussion?
no, I think that's
Yep.
fine considering how much we've got already in that account.
So I'll ask for a vote on this Article 15. All those in favor of changing, reducing, or eliminating the $90,000 allocation and reducing that Article 15 to $235,000.
Is that unanimous?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Article 16, Stephanie, you were talking about this, so I'll let you.
Right, on this one here, just go with what the Budget Committee recommends, the $4,000 for this year. Money already in Fairfield Festival is $27,332.95. Then we have also Planning and Development, which is for like Mill Island Park. And if we're going to do anything with the downtown TIF district, that area, $26,169 is there, but when you have to go and have maps done up or diagrams, that's a big chunk of your money, and you're looking at $10,000 easily. So, but for this year, we can just go to the $4,000 that the Budget Committee recommends. So I'll make a motion that we go with the Budget Committee recommendation of $4,000.
And this is near and dear to your heart, Stephanie. So-
Yes, it is. It's a
So-
sacrifice.
So if you're willing to sacrifice, I'm willing to second, so.
A second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those in favor of, so if you can state that again, how you'd like that to be read or written?
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $4,000 for community events. This would be the council and budget committee's recommendation.
And those would be $3,000 for concerts in the park and $1,000 for,
I think it was the
It's planning and development.
planning and
Planning and
development.
okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor? Looks unanimous. The last one I think was, that we had discussion about was Article 18, which regards POW. And so again, the town council recommends $40,000 originally, and the budget committee recommended $25,000 for us.
Yeah, I agree with Dwayne that let's just let it go to town meeting and we'll talk about it there. We're looking at a $5,000 difference between what we have at the 40,000 and what the percentage would be. And it's a good case to state before the people. But just, shoot. And there's no representation here tonight from PAL, so I just
It's not
assume
letting me
keep it as it is and wait for town meeting.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Hearing none?
No.
So no-
Just a motion for the remainder of the warrant.
So I would speak to that. I think Stephanie, I think I think there's a lot of discussion about that and whether it's 5,000. I think everybody should discuss it, and I think it should come out to the town at that point, and we'll see where that comes. But I have a feeling of where that's going to go. My own feeling is that $35,000 would be a fair amount for everyone. So, but if there's no stomach for that right now, then I won't make a motion because I don't think I'll get a second. All right, so I guess the motion now will be to approve the town warrant on the remaining articles as written. Do I have a motion to approve the warrant as written, the other articles?
Yes, I'll make a motion to accept the other articles as written
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
with the understanding that on Article 28, the money for the Delta Ambulance Services is not going to be used by the American Rescue Plan Act.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The copy of the warrant that you received tonight to approve doesn't have that in it.
All right,
It's not in there. It's just in the, but it is in this
But-
mailer, and I wanted to make sure folks knew that that's not where the funds were
All
coming from.
so I'll make a motion to accept the other articles as written.
There's a second from Peter. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Thank you very much.
That did, by the way, bring your overall total budgetary increase down to 7.85%, which was a total of 155,767. I'll have to make some other adjustments to know what the full warrant amount will be, but it'll bring that down a little bit further than what was put forward. So,
And I think, I'll just speak for the council. I'm actually proud of the budget committee and the council, and it's a tough job to do. And sometimes you make decisions that you don't want to necessarily, but you do the right thing. And I hope we would continue to do that. I think with the fact that we are keeping this budget to a 7.5% increase at the max, the way that we are looking at it right now is actually considering the other towns around us and other groups, whether it's counties and schools. I think, and maintain the services that we maintain is a job well done. So thank you. Item 24-55, order the town council hereby approves and authorizes the town manager to file the annual report for the Maine Affordable Housing Development District and Development Program, Mountain View Apartments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Can you just speak to this a little bit, Michelle, just to let people know what this means?
we have an affordable housing TIF for the Mountain View Apartments project on Mountain Ave. It requires us annually to report to Maine State Housing just exactly what is going on with that project. So we are letting them know that they have 28 existing affordable housing units, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you. So a motion and a second, and some discussion. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Item 24-56, order the town council hereby signs quitclaim deed for Mary Howard property located at 22 Wood Street, map 005, lot 056-004.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
second. Discussion? All those in favor? Thank you very much. The seventh order of business, the council workshop on other business. John?
I'm good.
Wayne?
No, I have nothing.
I'm good.
Peter? Stefan?
Well, I'd just like to remind our citizens that our town owns our streetlights, and even though we have a program that can help Public Works find lights that aren't working, if you do find one that's not working, you should call the town office. And when I say not working, maybe it's totally dead, or maybe it's not bright enough, or maybe it's too bright. But we do own our lights. And I also would like to remind you that I'm looking for 2 volunteers to make some phone calls to businesses. I have a spiel written out that you can even say. So give me a call, please.
Thank you, Stefan.
Welcome.
I actually just like to thank all of our town employees. I think we all give thanks on a regular basis. But with the different weather that we've had recently, I look at Bruce especially, but then obviously, the police department having to deal with it, the fire department having to deal with it, the town office having to deal with it. But poor Bruce goes from coming back from vacation to plowing snow, then dealing with, it looks like, oh, we're going to sweep the streets, but now we have snow again. And then you help come out and set up the meeting hall, so I appreciate that. But any of you guys work over a long time, long hours, sometimes without thanks. So I want to give you guys thanks tonight. So I appreciate everything you do. And one of those departments that always gets kind of forgotten because it's always not everybody realizes it's a department. But as I'm looking forward, the library, I really enjoy everything you're doing for getting involvement, Alyssa, in the library and making it a viable part and a vital part of this community. So thank you. That's all I have to say. So with that, move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Nope.
Well, we got-
Recess is what I meant to say. What I meant to say.
Move to recess.
Yes, we got to sign. I jumped to one.
We got a Stephanie motion to recess. Did we get a second?
Yes.
I think
We
Peter.
announced for the next.
Peter.
meeting,
Peter?
We're going to
Yeah.
say Peter.
Yep.
Do you want to announce for the next meeting?